Thanks, Bill. Mic check, is this on? Good. Let me get a presentation up here because I'm going to start talking really fast as soon as you get this up here. It's great to be with you. I remember first time I did a speech with Bill probably 10 or 11 years ago, and I just remember thinking, man, when I grow up, I hope I can be like Bill Gilmer. So I still feel that way. That's a great presentation, Bill. And so anyhow, before I get started here, I titled this speech, I made this speech just for this particular presentation. I do a lot of presentations in Houston, and I knew ULI was kind of a policy outfit, and believe me, our country needs a lot of guidance on policy. I'm basically going around the country begging trade associations to get involved to help solve some of these problems because clearly the people in Washington don't have a clue of what needs to be done. They need your help. I got on the website, ULI, an open exchange of ideas dedicated to creating better places. This is a speech meant for people that want to solve problems, not hide from them. And so with that in mind, let me ask first, are there anybody here that's on the board of directors of National Public Radio? Oh, good. I can say something of substance then. That'll be great. I was in Baltimore 2 days ago, and I said that, and one person raised their hand. I said, oh, in that case, I can't say anything of substance, and then went on ahead and gave my speech anyhow. Wow, this has got a tight fuse on it. Holy cow. How's that working? Are you guys sitting on the thing back there? Come on. I want to go back to this one. What is it? Okay. Forget it. Oh, well. Here's what it is. I've never given this speech before. I made this just for y'all. So if I can't see it, I don't know what's on it either. But we'll do the best we can. You can get a copy of this. We'll put it on our website. I assume ULI is probably going to put it on their website too. Here's my summary in a nutshell. The U.S. economy is turning the corner slowly, but there's a lot of heavy lifting to be done. And I'm going to show you a couple slides to make my case about why we're turning the corner. You've already seen it. My two would be corporate profits are up. It's a free enterprise capitalistic system. That's all you need to know. The economy is turning the corner. Second thing is you've already seen employment's turning the corner. Texas is outperforming the nation will. And Texas, in my mind, even if we have no job growth nationally next year, if Congress completely fails at their job, which I hope they don't, and I'm counting that they won't. But even if they do and we have no job growth at the national level, I think we'll have job growth in Texas because we will steal market share from places like California. If you subscribe to our website, you'll find out, for example, stuff like this, that the U.S. economy generated 133,000 jobs from August to August, and 48% of that was in Texas. 48% of all the job growth in this country was in Texas in the last 12 months. And here's why I just give you a couple of reasons why we're going to steal market share from California. I just see these headlines and put them up there. Teamsters organize medical marijuana growers. All right? Yeah, I quote them right there. The Teamsters go, it's been kind of a rough year for the Teamsters. We've had a hard time with membership, so we organized the pot growers. And then this other one here, the Bell city manager, that's outside of Los Angeles, by the way. That guy, city manager, gives himself an $800,000 salary for 1 year so then he can retire for the rest of his life based on his last year's salary. And several of his cronies did the same thing. And that sounds kind of stupid. If you live here, you kind of laugh about it. But how would you like to be a small businessman or woman living in that town, paying taxes for that kind of stuff? And what kind of stupid state would allow you to retire on your last year's income in the first place? That's why people are going to come here. We're going to have pent-up demand coming into this state. People didn't suddenly decide, I love living in Buffalo, New York, and freezing to death. They just haven't been able to come for 2 or 3 years. And we start generating jobs, and the housing market starts to clear a little bit. In my mind, we could have a very positive surprise, especially in Texas, and also probably Arizona, maybe even Nevada, because of all people have been postponing decisions for about 3 years. Okay, with that said, here's my good scenario. Small businesses and investors get the go signal from Congress. And we'll see whether they get any or not. Go signals, the getting rid of some of this uncertainty, and Bill's already identified most of that. And then we get a positive surprise in new job creation for 2 consecutive months. Frankly, I think we got one of those about 3 weeks ago. I was watching CNBC that one morning, and they go, Mark Zandi, what do you think? Jobs, oh, about 80,000. You, Biff, what do you think? 95,000. And then it comes out it's 120, and everybody goes, wow, that was kind of a hot number. Well, 1 month doesn't matter, but if we do that for 2 months, then all of a sudden, you've got a little bit of a surprise on your hand. And in my mind, the possibility is that stock prices jump substantially, interest rates start to go up, and bond prices fall. You get a massive move out of cash into stocks and a massive move out of bonds into stocks. And you get a little bit of a wealth effect, increasing consumer confidence, and you get an increase in hiring. And maybe China might buy something made from U.S. workers. That's the good scenario. Now, I've been given these 2 slides quite a bit, and you get some kind of Washington lobbyist for the banking industry or some other Washington person, they'll go, hey, that guy from A&M, he was half right. And I'm thinking, man, as an economist, that's quite a compliment if you're half right. But what he was saying was, that guy's good scenario won't happen. I can't tell you how many people said, Mark, makes sense. Won't happen. There will be no go signals come out of Washington, D.C., period. Got to come out of from the President of the United States and from Congress to give these business people some certainty about their future. Either they're going to put up and do something, or they're going to fail. One of the two. Just because they got elected doesn't mean a thing. If they get elected and they don't try to deliver, they've got to create confidence in small business. Here's my summary for the whole U.S. economy for 2011. States, cities, counties, school districts are going to freeze spending and continue to lay off people. Simple as that. And that negative downdraft is going to have to be offset by small businessmen and women hiring. And they won't because they're afraid of Congress and because they are worried about not having enough demand because there's not enough job creation. It's all kind of tied together. Now, here's the bad scenario. The Congress continues to demonize business, and state and municipal workers go on strike rather than take a pay cut or a furlough, something like that. And your Congress gives more stimulus to these cities and states and counties to postpone for another year, right-sizing their balance sheets. And maybe we throw in some tax credits to buy houses or cars and distort the market for another year so you can't possibly tell whether the market's recovering or not. And if we do these kind of things, then I would call that continued uncertainty from Washington. And if China continues to manipulate their currency and not made anything made by Americans, then small business people will do in 2011 exactly what they've been doing in 2010, which is nothing, and hoard cash. And we could keep doing this next year and the year after and the year after that. Just keep in mind, if you're not old enough to remember this, the stock market, the Dow was at 1,000 in 1966, and it didn't return to 1,000 until 1982. Your government can mess up an economy for an extended period of time if they really work at it. That's what people are telling me. They'll get up after me and go, hey, that guy was pretty rosy glasses kind of guy. Because everything he said was pretty accurate, except his good scenario won't happen and his bad scenario will happen. I hope they're wrong, but I got to tell you, that's what kind of feedback I'm getting. And it tends to be people on Wall Street and people in Washington, D.C. See, these people don't have a clue about what turns the corner in America for jobs, and that's called entrepreneurship. You ever hear any Nobel Prize winning economists talking about entrepreneurship right now and forming small businesses and stuff? Of course, you know, I mentioned about Nobel Prize winners, but of course we all know you don't have to do anything to get a Nobel Prize anymore. Okay, this is a slide that wouldn't show up for some reason. Okay, so I've made my case about why I think the economy is turning the corner and we could have some positive upswing. But I mentioned turning the corner, but heavy lifting. And the slide I couldn't read is my 4 short stories to illustrate the heavy lifting that's got to be done, because I want you to be aware of this, because I'm just begging people like you to form a committee and try to solve any of these problems. The first one is, when the sun set, a dragon ate my lunch. And here's the issue. I'm going to have to go so fast. I'm not going to teach you this stuff. You're just going to have to read it. You'll get it. But the deal is, remember that Japanese miracle when they were going to own the planet and they were buying all the real estate in Pebble Beach and all the rest of that, Rockefeller Center? And management people all over the country are teaching the Japanese miracle? That's called cheap currency. It's called way too cheap a currency. You see?